Good morning, everyone. Starting from the last lecture, I want to go ahead, and that is work physiology and work measurement. So, in this work physiology and work measurement, we were on the point that what is the stress? That is nothing but the stimuli of the situation around the workplace, and then the strain, what body is going to the way body is going to react to that particular kind of stresses in occupations, different types of occupation. So before going ahead, the basic thing which we had to understand about stress strain relationship of the body, we have to understand about the basics of what is called as metabolism. Metabolism, or we have to call metabolism, or we have to understand about muscle physiology. That will be more covered in a topic which I will integrate with this topic beyond moving towards the objective measurements of work. As I told you earlier that there are two types of work measurement. One is called as objective measurement and the other is called as subjective measurement. So these are nothing but measuring the body strain. Body strain either in terms of a subjective response from the workers or by looking at the situation of the worker. And the other method which I told you was objective measurement, in which we were going to record some of the body signals. So body signals may be biosignals like EMG, muscle activity, EEG, electroencephalogram, brain activity, ECG, electrocardiogram, the we can say this electrocardiography, where we get the cardiac response. You can have other signals as well, like galvanic skin response, which gives you the resistance of the body skin. So before moving towards all these things, the first thing is to understand what is metabolism, how our body gets energy, and how we utilize that particular energy. So in case of metabolism, the important thing comes over here is what is called as glycolysis. So there are different types of events or different types of basic activities where glycolysis takes place. So metabolism is uh, in this, we have to consume food and create energy and create the body. So whatever food we are taking, food in terms of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, uh, and other like other things, or which we consume and we broke down when we take food into the body, uh, and then we break down into what is called as either amino acids from protein mainly, or which our body cells require to build up, or we need glucose, or glucose is broken down into other smaller energy cells like ATPs, adenosine triphosphates, etc. So when we have these things, we can these things, like amino acid is kind of a protein deformed into a kind of elements or molecules which body cells can absorb to grow the body. But to absorb these things, the body cells need energy. So where do we get energy from? That is called as ATP. So ATPs are the smaller form of broken down of the glucose into smaller packets of energies, adenosine triphosphate. Using that energy, convert, we consume that, and we again build what is called as protein of the body or fat of the body. So this is a kind of cycle. So in this, when we broke down these things, it is called as catabolism. and when we redevelop, it is called as anabolism, catabolism, or anabolism. So this is the basic cycle of what is called as our metabolism. In this, what happens is, like, we had food, then we consume, body consumes it, breaks down into acids, breaks down into fatty acids, glucose, etc. And then with the help of amino acid plus energy, all these required to build the what is called as proteins, the fat, etc. in the body. So in this case, the role is mainly of what is ATPs and ADPs. ADPs are smaller packets of energy. ATPs are very high energy packets. So ATPs and ATPs, they convert, ADPs are converted into ATPs and releases more energy if we have a kind of what is called as aerobic glycolysis. But if it is anaerobic glycolysis, we are not going to produce more number of ATPs. So how does all this happen is basically when we have glucose, when we have glucose, we have, this is nothing but C6H12O6. So this is 6 carbon molecule, which is broken down into 3 carbon molecules with the help of 2 ATPs. So it is just a cycle of carbohydrates are converted into glucose. Muscle glucose is broken down to liberate the energy which your muscles require. So energy is stored in the form of molecules which are called as ATPs. ATPs break down into ADPs plus phosphate radicals. So whenever you require energy, our body require energy for any kind of activity. These this glucose in general breaks down into ATPs. There are a lot of reactions in between them. It is not a simple reaction. But when we have many ATPs, when our body requires energy, then it breaks down into again ADPs and phosphate radicals. So this is a closed cycle. So when we have these things in the body, it helps us to create more ATPs. So once again, we consume food and we create more ATPs as a storage of the energy. So this is the thing. Now, coming back to this point. So there we have 3 carbon molecules which are generally called as phosphoglyceraldehyde, where you create 2 more ATPs. This process creates 2 more ATPs, and these 2 more ATPs, and one is called as NADH, nitratyl NADH. But basically, we require more energy. So from 2, we create 4 ATPs, and then we get what is called as pyruvate. Pyruvate is nothing but pyruvic acid. So we get pyruvic acid plus 2 ATPs. So then, if we are creating, we are doing this kind of reaction. So in this reaction is going on in 2 ways: 2 ATPs here and 2 ATPs here, from the broken down of the glucose into 2 halves. So then we have a pyruvic acid. If there are sufficient oxygens available over there, this pyruvic acid breaks down into CO2 and water. That is release that releases plus lot of energy in the form of ATPs. But if there is not sufficient oxygen available for this pyruvic acid to be dissolved, it creates a kind of lactic acid, which is a basic sign of fatigue. So that is uh, how we consume the glucose and we convert them into the energy. And the one process where we have sufficient energy, we call it aerobic glycolysis, which are nothing but our exercises for increasing our lungs capacity. And the other is called as fermentation, where we have a scarcity of oxygen and we do not produce that level of energy. We only have a little energy, like I show you the equation in the form of a summary, like C6, sorry, C6H12O6. Glucose is converted into pyruvate or pyruvic acid, what we call, and this is nothing but three carbon molecules plus a small energy. But if there is sufficient oxygen available over here, which is called as aerobic process, then this is converted into CO2 plus H2O plus big energy. Big energy is about 36 ATPs we call. ATPs are nothing but the packets or source of energy. Now, if there is less oxygen, the cells have to work hard, and in scarcity of oxygen, they produce what is called as lactic acid, or if there is yeast available, uh, as we add yeast in flour while we are mixing with water, so it creates a lot of carbon dioxide plus ethanol, and that carbon dioxide helps in expanding our bread, and bread inflates, and then while we are baking the bread, it goes out. So the same kind of process may be here for creating CO2 plus ethanol. So these two processes are basically called as anaerobic glycolysis, and this is called as aerobic exercises or aerobic glycolysis. So sometimes when the worker is stressed and worker is doing over job, then its lungs capacity or whatever oxygen is required, like rickshaw pulling in a hot weather, or rickshaw or trolley pulling or industrial work. So this kind of stresses are developed because of the more pyruvate which is not being dissolved into CO2 and H2O. Now in cells, we have a nucleus and we have small what we call mitochondria, which are nothing but the powerhouse of the cell. This aerobic reaction takes place in mitochondria, and it releases a lot of energy in the form of ATPs, which remains there when the body requires to work. It breaks down ATPs into ADPs and releases lots of energy. But these reactions, which are anaerobic reactions or fermentation, happens into what is called as cytoplasm. So this is your mitochondria and this is your cytoplasm. So these reactions takes place over there. So this was the basic what we call glycolysis process, or the process by which we can understand how the food is decomposed by the method is called as catabolism, and into what we create energy packets, what we create amino acids. So to, and then we rebuild these things back into proteins and fats. So this is called as anabolic anabolism. So this is aerobic, anaerobic glycolysis. So all this happens because we require a lot of energy. Our body requires a lot of energy to. So this was the basic process. The second part, this is all we had already explained. What is anaerobic glycolysis? This is also called as fermentation. This is called as releasing the oxygen with the presence of the sufficient oxygen. So these are basic metabolism processes, and this is the cycle of energy supplies by ATPs in anaerobic glycolysis and in aerobic glycolysis. So energy available in the form of ATPs is quite high in the case of aerobic glycolysis, but it is a very low energy compared to aerobic glycolysis. It is almost roughly it is said that 36 ATPs are produced from one glucose molecules, and here we produce 2 ATPs only. So this is just a rough comparison of both the processes of producing their energy. Now, before moving towards work measurement, we have the other part to understand is what is called as muscle physiology. Because in most of the mechanical tasks, means most of the occupational tasks, we require muscles to work. And there are three basic types of muscles. One is called as skeletal muscles, mainly having the injuries like what we call musculoskeletal disorders. When they are with the occupation, we call it work-related musculoskeletal disorder, a very common injury or disorder in industry. Second are smooth muscles, or we sometimes call it voluntary and involuntary muscles, which are nothing but our veins, etc. Now, then cardiac muscles, heart works. So there are about 40 skeletal muscles, and our focus will be more on skeletal muscles because injuries we are getting is more in terms of skeletal injuries in the industry where the ergonomics plays an important role. Now, this is the basic structure of muscles. But before moving to this, okay, let's discuss this first. Muscles are in the form of long cells. These are fibers grouped together and forms a muscle. And this bunch of muscle fiber has a lot of activities in there. There are two types of fibers. One is called as myosin fiber and other is called as actin fiber. And when the contraction and expansion takes place, this myosin fibers remains there and actin fiber compress and expand. The distance between one to another fiber is called as sarcomere length. So this sarcomere length is the indication of the any fiber length of the muscle, any type of muscle. So this is the rough structure shown for the muscle activity when it is under action. So either we are doing a gripping task or we are doing a cutting task. So our muscles get expand and contract. So that expansion and contraction creates a kind of electrical activity over the muscles due to the signals comes through uh, axiom, which are motor units. There are a lot of motor units in the muscles which get excited, and this creates a kind of electrical signal. So when we have electrical signals, we take it out, we amplify, and we get a signal in the form of what is called as electromyogram. This signal, any signal we have, has two basic parameters. One is called as amplitude and the other is called as frequency. So any signal we have is a from the muscles is a kind of random signal which is mix of many signals, because there are many motor units around the muscles which are doing the job of exciting the muscles. And that case, we are getting the amplified signal, and the signal will have a kind of random appearance. In this signal, you can have many frequencies. So from the frequency spectrum, you can understand about the muscle activity, what is going on in the muscle, or from the amplitude, you can understand about what the effort that particular muscle is doing in that respective, in the respective task. I will add up a lecture on exclusively on biosignals before moving further towards the objective methods of work measurement. So this is the contractibility of the muscles. This is contracted state. This is a relaxed state. It is a stretched state. Now this will be kind of difference between static work and the dynamic work. Static work sustains muscle contraction. It remains for longer hours, longer period. Then in dynamic work, you have contraction and expansion. So in that case, you get a time to release uh, the lactic acid into the carbon dioxide and water. So in dynamic work, you get less fatigue or fatigue after a longer duration than sometimes in static work. Just holding a weight for a very long period creates more fatigue than doing an exercise, doing a dynamic exercise. Because in dynamic exercise, you release and store energy. So that way, it is, this is more kind of fermentation or kind of anaerobic process. This is more towards aerobic process or aerobic glycolysis. Anaerobic glycolysis, and this is aerobic glycolysis. So in dynamic work, we get sometimes more oxygen available to the body, and then because more oxygen is available, then your pyruvate, which is the main reason for converting the fatigue, gets dissolved into CO2 and water, and that is why you get fatigue after a longer duration than in case of static load and dynamic load. So dynamic load gives you more endurance time. Endurance time is nothing but the time to do the task to your maximum capability, compared to static load having lesser endurance time compared to dynamic loading. So this was a small comparison of static work and dynamic work. Reduce muscle blood flow, increase muscle blood flow, no increase in muscle oxygen consumption. Here is an increased muscle oxygen consumption. This is oxygen independent energy production, which is a very less energy. This is an oxygen dependent energy production. So you might have a higher energy produced in that process. Sorry. Now we come back to the point where I left on the previous turn, that there are certain processes for work measurement which are called as objective methods of measurement, and the other, which some of them we have a complete book on this. On this, you can have book on biosig uh, biosignals, and here you have a complete handbook of ergonomics, a separate handbook of ergonomics on work measurement techniques, which are called as psychophysical method. These are called as psychophysical method because here psychological and physical measurement correlation of the human's response with respect to the physical parameters is understood, it's analyzed, it is researched on, and then these methods are developed. So these methods, for example, Borg rating. Borg rating is nothing but rating the level of exertion between 0 to 10 or 0 to 20. But this level of exertion is correlated with the increase in heart rate from 60 to 200. So at what level it was about 60 and at what level it was about 200 is given as the extreme effort or low effort. So that is a kind of correlation. That is why we call these methods as psychophysical methods. Sorry. So in these psychophysical methods, we on the background, on the research level, at the implementation of the method or using the method, we don't have that kind of physiology involved. But on the background of developing the method, the physiology involved is a lot of in the lot many ways which are correlated with respect to the response of the subject. So these were called as psychophysical methods. Before going to objective methods, I will, as I have given you the introduction about metabolism, glycolysis, and which we had anabolism, catabolism, anaerobic, and aerobic glycolysis. So, in addition to this, I want to give you idea about different types of biosignals, for which I will present a complete PPT before starting this on basics of electromyography, basics of electroencephalogram, basics of electrocardiography, and their application in industry or in ergonomics related activities. So, leaving this point for a while, we are starting from the methods which are called as subjective methods and or psychophysical methods. Physical methods for work measurement.